Carlos Mendez closed the garage door and let himself fall onto the cold concrete floor. Around him were boxes of old tools, a worn pickup with no engine, and the crushing weight of $38,000 in debt. He was 42 and felt like a total failure. 3 failed businesses, 2 bankruptcies, a marriage on the ropes, and now no steady job, no savings, and hardly a flicker of hope. He whispered to the dark ceiling, "God, where are you? Have you abandoned me? Was it all for nothing?" Tears streamed down. He had fought, worked, and sacrificed for years, and nothing had stuck. It was as if a curse followed his touch, everything turning to ashes. His wife, Laura, a third-grade teacher earning $35,000 a year, had gone weeks speaking only when necessary. Their 3 kids watched him with quiet eyes that seemed to ask, "Dad, why did you fail again?" He felt it in the silence, in the missing lunches, in the shame of not buying school supplies. At 25, he opened a refurbished computer shop, poured in savings and effort, and closed when online giants crushed local stores. He lost $20,000. Failure 1. At 30, he opened a restaurant using his grandmother's recipes, borrowed money, but mismanagement and theft sank it. He lost $35,000. Failure 2. At 35, he tried commercial cleaning. The 2008 downturn canceled contracts, equipment failed, and debt piled. Failure 3. Now he drove rideshare by day and cleaned offices by night, 2 jobs that barely covered rent and minimum payments. Interest devoured every extra dollar. $38,000 at high rates felt like a life sentence. That night, his hand found a forgotten box containing his father's tools, hammers, chisels, a battered plane, tools his father had used to build their house. A letter lay inside. "Son, there is no shame in honest work. Use these tools if you ever need them. I built our life with these hands. I loved you." Reading it, something shifted. The idea of starting small, of honoring honest labor, felt like possibility instead of defeat. He cleaned a rusty hammer, watched YouTube videos on basic woodworking, and built a lopsided garden bench with the last $30 he had. Imperfect as it was, when Laura sat on it and said, "It's solid. I like it," a small warmth returned. A neighbor noticed the bench and asked for a bookshelf. He offered $150. Carlos accepted and learned patience and precision. Word spread. A bookshelf, a dining table, kitchen cabinets. Each job honed his skill and paid slightly more. Late-night hobby became steady side income. He photographed his work and created a simple Facebook page, Mendez Carpentry, handcrafted furniture. He kept the rideshare and cleaning at first, carving wood between shifts, learning joints and finishes online. A retired accountant at church taught him a debt snowball plan. List debts smallest to largest, pay minimums on all but the smallest, throw every extra dollar at that one, then roll the payment forward. They made a budget for the first time. He worked nights until his hands ached, learning dovetails, finishes, and the patient rhythm of measurement, cut, and sand. He watched tutorials, practiced on scrap, failed, and slowly improved. He charged modest prices at first, a bench for $60, a bookshelf for $150, a table for $450, and reinvested cautiously while resisting new credit. At church, the finance ministry helped him physically cut up his cards, a symbolic act that felt terrifying and liberating. Meals became simple. Outings were postponed. The children grumbled but began to take part. Diego passing sandpaper, learning pride in steady work. As orders increased, he documented testimonials, improved his small catalog, and set honest prices that reflected labor and quality. He hired 2 helpers, trained them well, paid them fairly, and built a reputation for reliability and care. The first month, they slammed a $3,000 card to zero. The release was intoxicating. Customers trusted him with larger projects. A remodeler hired him for kitchen cabinets for $3,000, and he reinvested cautiously, buying only essential tools. He refused to borrow. Burnout hit when he fainted at a red light. Laura insisted he quit the rideshare. Carpentry already outpaced driving. Focusing would protect his health and improve work quality. He took the leap, trained reliable helpers, paid them fairly, and transformed the garage into a real workshop. Discipline stayed core. Strict budgets, no new credit, continual craft improvement. He taught his eldest, Diego, to measure and sand. The children learned responsibility. Within a year, they had paid off $20,000. By 12 months, all $38,000 was erased. The evening of the final payment, the family gathered and cried. Relief, gratitude, restoration. Then, one spring, a local developer who had seen his work on an architect's project called with a large subcontract, custom cabinets and trim for a small neighborhood of houses. The contract was substantial enough to allow him to hire additional hands and buy a few professional machines, yet not so large that he lost control. He took the work, delivered with excellence, and the developer recommended him to others. Bigger contracts followed, each won by reputation rather than flashy promises. With careful hiring and fair pay, he grew steadily without repeating old mistakes. 10 years after that desperate night, Carlos owned a thriving firm, Mendez & Sons, employing former failures given second chances. He lived modestly, saved deliberately, gave generously, and started a microloan fund for honest entrepreneurs. But the real victory was a restored marriage, a present father, and dignity found in work. He framed his father's letter above the main bench. There is no shame in honest work. The town told the story. The man who failed 3 times and built his life with his hands. He always credited God and the tools his father left him. He became a teacher, a lender of wisdom, a beacon for those convinced debt and failure were final. He never forgot the prayer on the garage floor. Failure had been painful, but not final. Returning to basics, faith, honest labor, discipline, and humility, God took the broken pieces of his life and built something beautiful. They celebrated quietly together with grateful hearts. You just spent 8 minutes for God. 8 minutes to grow in wisdom, faith, and peace. See you tomorrow. Verse for your meditation. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me.